Hey guys, how you doing? It's Tom. I'm back with another video, and on this one, I wanted to talk about, um, you know, Amy asked me a good question the other day. When we were having breakfast just a couple days ago, and she said, couldn't a single guy, like from the West, live in the Philippines for like 800 a month, U.S. 800 USD per month? And I was like, well, listen, I'll say this. I mean, can a single guy live? Yeah, technically. I mean, yeah, you could live. You could live like a Filipino, right? If you can, and that's the thing, right? Like, you got to understand. When there's a bunch of vloggers now. Okay, I'm sure you guys have noticed in the Philippines. Like since the pandemic is, since the travel restrictions have been lifted, it just seems like there's like double the amount of vloggers now. And I'm one of them, right? I mean, I came here back in June, but I always had this idea to do this. I just thought, well, why would I want to do this when I'm still back in Chicago? Like why would I want to start a channel about the Philippines when I'm still in Chicago? So I waited. But there, like I said, there's a lot of information out there, right? But the fact remains that I think most of you guys out there that are thinking about coming here to live, you're older guys. You're guys like over 50. Okay, for them, just say that. I'm just gonna say over 50. The range is obviously like 50 to 70 or whatever, but let's just say over 50. So it's kind of like, okay, can a single guy like that live for 800 a month? Yeah, technically, with a capital T. I mean, yeah, if you want to live in some little house, almost, very, very small little house with no amenities. You know what I mean? Like no flushing toilet, no, not a regular stove, not a regular refrigerator, anything like that, right? Just want to live bare bones, like many Filipinos do, especially in the province I'm talking about. They have to pretty much, or most of them do. If you can live like that as an older guy coming here, hey, God bless you. Yeah, then you could certainly find a place in the province for $100 a month to rent. Some small little place or whatever, one bedroom little house, maybe even a little house, right? It's not going to be like a condo or an apartment because you're going to be in the province. So that's the only good thing. It'll be a house. It won't be, if you're not into apartments. But I mean, could you live like that? Or would you want to live like that? Now, if you're a young guy, that's different, right? If you see it as a challenge, you're some 30-year-old, uh, you know, um, digital nomad, okay, and you just need internet. I need internet. To actually live here, and not to do this on a dare. This isn't like a, oh, I want to be like Survivor episode. Except we're gonna do it for 6 months, or yeah, I suppose you could do that. And you could rough it, for 6 months or whatever. But you're really wanting to live here. Make a life for yourself here. Um, like I said, I guess you could do it if you're young, good, you're in good shape, and you can live very meagerly. Um, right? I mean, everybody, you could technically do a lot of things in this world, right? In this life, you know. But would you want to? Would you want to sort of live that way? Especially older guys. I mean, and that's most of our audiences here. Most of my audience is like probably guys over 50. That are either here or thinking about coming here. Whether it's soon or whether it's 5 or 10 years down the line. And those guys have worked all their lives in the U.S. And many of them raised families and stuff like that. And do you think they're gonna and if you're one of those guys, are you gonna want to? Would you honestly want to live like that? Where you're just very like you're just existing. Now, if you're from a rural area of the U.S., okay, like extremely rural, and you literally live that way, like a small house and all that with and with outdoor plumbing and all that. If you live like that, and there are people, that live like that, right? In the U.S., there's some really extremely rural areas. It's not all just cities. Um, if then yeah, you could probably have a shot at it. You know what I mean? Even if you're an older guy, even if you're 50, 60 years old, if you've sort of lived that way all your life in the U.S., in a very extremely rural way, and you're very active, and you kind of did physical work, you worked on a farm, you had a farm, whatever, right? Yeah, you might make it. You could probably do it here. And if you had just a low amount of Social Security like that or whatever, right? I guess you could, right? But I mean, how many of those guys are there? Out there. You know what I mean? Like, that would consider going all the way to the Philippines. Somebody who grew up in a very rural part of the United States and lived very low, in other words, just, sort of low income. Well, they probably never, a lot of those type of people, mostly guys, right, that we're talking to here, they may not have ever even left their state where they're from, let alone went 10,000 miles over the ocean to to a place like the Philippines to live or to retire, you know. So obviously, I guess my point is that we're talking to the larger 90% audience that we're addressing here in all these vlogs, all these vloggers that do these videos in the Philippines that are living here like me. We're addressing the guys that are they want to have a good life, like they don't want to struggle, or they don't want to live bare bones, right? They just want to live decently, right? And yeah, I mean, could you do it for $800 a month? Yeah, but I mean, God, you better have some money in the bank too, though, because you will have medical issues, whether they're $500 issues like I had, just shit that wasn't really that expensive. Or you could have, if you have any kind of surgery here, it ain't gonna be cheap. It'll be much cheaper than the U.S., but it ain't gonna be cheap. You know what I mean? It's not gonna be, these guys say you could do this for, $100. I could go see a doctor for $10. And yeah, that's true. You can have doctor appointments, just regular doctor appointments and routine stuff, and even like MRIs, they're not that expensive. They're, what I mean, and X-rays. But man, if you need surgery, you better have some money in the bank. It ain't gonna be no $1,000 for surgery. You know what I mean? It's gonna be $4, $5, $6 grand. Okay. I mean, unless you want to. I really don't even know. Even if you're in a deep province hospital, that you would even have a surgeon over there that would be able to do it for like less. You know what I mean? Like, this guy will do it for 150,000 pesos total, including the hospital. And I'd be like, I don't know about that. You know what I mean? Like, so for the most part, you're going to be looking at some serious money, when it comes to surgery. Okay, I'm just telling you. And I know a lot of us. Luckily, I haven't had to have that. But obviously our family member did, and yeah. So it's interesting too, because I just saw a video the other day about a gentleman who was interviewed by another guy, and he had a mishap on an island, and he broke his elbow, and he was a younger guy. I mean, he seemed like he was 40-ish or whatever. I don't know, 35. 40, it's hard for me to tell sometimes, but it's in that ballpark. He looked like he was in that ballpark. He wound up going to Cebu, not Manila, but Cebu, the second biggest city in the Philippines, and he got it taken care of there. And it was, I believe he said it was $5,300, and that was with, I think, 5 days in the hospital. It's either 4 or 5 days. It might have been 4, and then he maybe left on the 5th, kind of like what we had, the experience that we had here recently in Manila. But whatever, it was very similar, except it was an elbow and not a rebuilding of a knee, So actually, probably, I don't know if it was an easier surgery, but I mean, I don't know, you know what I mean? But it was similar, And he said it cost him $5,300 USD. Okay, and I, it's funny because I actually was like, oh, okay, because sometimes when you have these big outlays and these medical expenses, you're looking for somebody else to like tell you something similar, you know what I mean? So you don't feel so bad, like you got, you know what I mean? Um, but I was like, wow, but that's reality, man. Now I bet you had a good surgery too. You know what I mean? I bet you the surgeon was really good, and from what I've seen too, wrapping up here, uh, I've seen that, or at least what I noticed was that the doctors themselves, the surgeons, they don't make excessive amount, even in Manila here, or at least not on our thing. I mean, it was like 2 grand, and there was 2 doctors. Well, actually, there was an anesthesiologist and a surgeon, and I think another surgeon was helping him that he was supposed to just pay him out of his share or whatever. But anyway, the bottom line was those guys made about 2 grand. And it was a 2-hour surgery, but it was pretty extensive. I mean, it wasn't. It was more difficult, I think, than like a knee replacement. Even, you know what I mean? When you have to sort of rebuild, you have to take a tendon from somewhere else, and then replace it, and all that, and kind of reconstruct the knee. That's a little more extensive. So that wasn't. I didn't think that was unreasonable at all, right? But that medical, there was like a third party company that was providing the medical equipment. They made almost 2 grand. This was in my situation, or in our situation, and then the hospital made about 2 grand. And I will tell you, and this guy mentioned the same thing. He basically said, they kind of like nickel and dime you, and they do, at least in our experience, they charge you. The room fees are, shit, 1,900 pesos a day for a private room. And it was a nice room, and everything, good sized room, so very reasonable as far as that goes. But man, everything else, everything that was done within that room by the nurses, like, is charged. Like, I mean, down to the cotton balls, you know what I mean, for this and that. Like, I mean, you're paying for every little thing, and that nickel and dime really adds up. You know what I mean? I mean, 2 grand for 4 days. That's a lot of money. $500 a day. I mean, it's less than the U.S. would be without insurance, but still not cheap. And I guess I want to stop this video now. I mean, I'm pretty much done, but my point is that 800 a month, going back to the 800 a month. Hey man, you just better, especially if you're an older guy. I mean, just pray that you, or maybe your wife or girlfriend, or maybe she's got a daughter or whatever, that no one gets hurt. You know what I mean? If you're gonna live like that, man, you can barely even afford to go see a doctor just for a checkup, let alone any kind of surgery or any kind of major thing. That's why most of us say, hey, you need at least 20 grand in the bank, U.S., okay, in your bank, and 1,200 a month income. That's why most of us say that. So, but I thought it was a good question, coming from, obviously a Filipina. My girl's a Filipina through and through, and grew up in a province, but also lived in a city. And so I thought that's a good question, right? Because, hey, if you tell a Filipino, you ask any Filipino that's been here all their life in the Philippines, hey, how would you like, if they're not making this much, but if you say, hey, how'd you like 800 a month, 800 US a month, can you live off that? They'd be like, are you kidding me? Where do I sign? You know what I mean? Like that's pretty good money, for a Filipino, right? Their average income here is closer to like 500 US a month, okay? At the overall average in the Philippines income, So, I mean, to them, that'd be like, oh, yeah, that's great. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You could even get, because a lot of times they'll share housing and apartments and stuff like that. There might be 4, 5, 6 people, even in a 1-bedroom apartment or whatever, or a small house, I'm telling you, they live in ways that most Westerners are not accustomed to, okay? Even in areas that aren't too far from the city even, you don't have to be out in the boondocks to sort of live like that here, So, anyway, all right, guys, I'm going to stop talking. I wanted to try and make this 10 minutes. Hey, you know what? Real quick, if any of you guys have any other specific issues that you'd like me to talk about, let me know, because I'm starting to run out of ideas, man. I'm just like, how many budget videos can I do? But anyway, yeah, just because I do have some pretty good subscribers that are very receptive and everything, and they comment, and I enjoy their comments. And yeah, let me know, man, if there's anything else that I haven't covered previously. Let me know. I'd be happy to do a video on it. All right, guys, thanks a lot. I'll talk to you later.